shale gas extraction. As you'll all know, Quadrilla have now submitted their 2 applications for exploratory wells on the Fylde coast. Many of us hope in the business sector that the shale gas industry will bring much needed economic benefit to our area. However, I appreciate that many still have concerns regarding the safety of the extraction process, and I think there's a general lack of understanding about that process. So with that in mind, I've invited today to speak to us Professor Peter Stiles from Keele University. Peter is the Professor of, sorry this CV is quite lengthy, Professor of Applied and it's very impressive. Professor of Applied and Environmental Geophysics. He's been head of the School of the Earth Sciences and Geography, Director of the Research Institute for the Environment, Physical Sciences and Mathematics. He's a fellow and former president of the Geological Society, a chartered geologist, a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society, a fellow of the Institute of Materials, Minerals and Mining, and a member of the American Geophysical Union and the European Association of Geoscientists and Engineers. He's been appointed chair to the DEFRA group studying the disposal of radioactive waste, a member of the Royal Society Committee on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, and has been a member of the Geosphere Characterisation Panel on Nuclear Decommissioning.
You better stop there.
Is that He's currently President of the International Commission on Hydrocarbon-Related Seismicity, studying the earthquake swarms in northern Italy in 2012. He was joint author of the 2012 DCC report on induced seismicity in shale gas drilling in Lancashire, and has delivered well over 30 lectures on the subject in at least 7 countries. Peter.
Thank you very much. We've got a little garish on this projector, but I'm going to talk about shale gas, what it is, where we get it, and how long will it take. I'm particularly concentrating on processes of how we get it. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. Because I don't stand still. I must get something for that. Okay, the one thing about shale gas is not me to be interviewed in front of the House of Parliament, where usually only BBC presenters and ministers stand, so that leads with a plus from my point of view. So, what is shale gas? Talk about that. What is fracking? That's the most of interest to you. What chemicals are used? The environmental issues to do with water, contamination, visible immunity, issues to do with seismicity, earthquakes, etc. So what is shale gas? Well, it's gas formed by dead animals that died about 350 million years ago in an ocean which extended all the way from Ireland, all the way across Europe, and probably didn't stop till it got to the Urals. Okay? There was a vast ocean there. There's something similar in the US as well, because in actual fact we're very close. So this was a quiet ocean in which very, very tiny particles of rock were deposited. So they fall gently through the ocean, animals die, are incorporated in this, and forms a rock called shale. Okay? If you want to see it, go to Clitheroe, go to Pendle Hill. It's not a magical rock which only appears 3 kilometres down. You can go and walk on it. Right? I didn't bring a piece of my pocket, I usually do the camera. Okay? It is the source of all oil and gas in the UK, with the exception of the gas that comes out of coal. So all of the oil we get in the North Sea and the Irish Sea comes from that shale. People don't actually realise that. The bit we've been looking for most of the time is the gas which escaped from that and is then trapped in complex geological features which are relatively rare. Which is why it's actually hard to find oil and gas, because mostly we've been looking for things like these faults which actually have a trap here, these things called anticlines which have a trap. But in actual fact, all of that oil came from down here. So there's nothing magical about shale oil and gas. That is the source of all of the oil and gas we use. We burn in our cookers, we put in our cars. And it's mostly in the UK, we're dealing with rocks from, we call it carboniferous, probably carbonaceous rocks. Beneath the coal, okay, there are these shales, because that's what happened. We had this deep ocean, which then shallowed, and in those shallows we had deposits of coal, which has been exploited all over this country. But almost everywhere where you find coal in this country, you will find these shales beneath it. Okay? Now somebody said to me, go out and drill me a conventional reservoir. I spent about £20 million just actually trying to look for it. If someone said, find me some shale, I said, well, bring me a drilling rig and I'll drill here. And there's shale here. That doesn't mean there's shale gas, as we'll see. But I can guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, I can put down a borehole and find shale. Probably about 1 in 100 could I actually find one of these traps. Now, why haven't we exploited it? Because in actual fact, okay, let's just do something first, okay? So, this is the source of the oil and gas down here. It's trapped by layers which actually seal it in like salt. The sandstones we've been exploiting are these geometrical features. Now, for some reason, we've called this conventional gas, and this unconventional gas. We've probably got that the wrong way around, to be honest. Because on the left, who's this, ladies? Right. And the one on the right. So you can't tell the difference between George Clooney and Boy George. You can't tell the difference. One's conventional, one's unconventional. That's unconventional gas on the left, and that's conventional gas on the right. They're absolutely identical. It's CH4 methane. Heard it's the same. I actually used to say it smelled the same, but somebody told me it doesn't actually smell at all. It is identical. You cannot tell the difference between shale gas and other natural gas. It's the same. I went to Brussels and an NGO said to me, we're happy with the conventional gas, we're not happy with the unconventional gas. So I said to it, do you realise they are identical? So that's an important point to check for. So what's the difference? Usually we get oil and gas out of red sandstones like this. If you look at St. Bees Head in Cumbria, find the red sandstones. They're the property and they're porous. They're like a sponge. So they can hold a lot of oil, gas, and water as well, one of our principal aquifers. The more important property is that those pores are connected together, so that fluid can flow in and flow out. At the other end of the spectrum is coal. I actually have to show students coal these days, because men would never have ever seen it. Sadly. Coal actually contains about 10 times as much gas per volume as a piece of this rock, because it's actually held as a liquid like there. And that's how we used to actually produce gas, if any of you remember. We used to gasify it at the surface. We heated it and took the gas off. Shale is somewhere between these two. And there's some of the gas is trapped in the pores, but a lot of it is held in these liquid-like layers. But they're not connected. In shale, we don't have pathways. And that's the problem. There's the golden shale. Okay, that's a clitheroe. You can go and walk on it. There's nothing magical about it. Okay? This is an oil seep at Formby. Natural oil at the surface. I don't talk much about it, but this is the US. The US is now going to become a net exporter of gas, mostly from something called the Marcellus Shale. It covers a huge area. It's about 300 meters thick. In Poland, right, and going into Ukraine, I'll talk about that later, it's about 150 meters thick. In the Vale of Poland, sorry, not quite yet, Vale of Poland is probably more than a kilometre thick shale. Why there's a lot of interest. 3 times thicker than the shales in the US, which have produced now enough gas to power the US and enough to start exporting it. That's why the Vale of Poland is of interest. We talked about this. Some of it is stored as free gas, some of it is actually absorbed. I won't dwell on that anymore. In a conventional reservoir, we need 3 bits. We need a source, we need a reservoir, and we need a seal. That's why it's actually hard to find oil and gas and expensive. But find all of those together. In shale gas, it's its own source, its own reservoir, and its own sewer. Okay. It's an oven-ready chicken for the gas. The trouble is this. This is a plot of what's called permeability, and something called Darcy's. Darcy was the man who founded BP, if you don't actually know his name. Natural reservoirs have what's called about 100 millidarcies, that's 0.1 of a Darcy. Down here, these are hundreds of millions of Darcys in shale gas. This is why we can get water in and out of these reservoirs, gas, oil, and that's why it's very hard to get it out of shale. Shale types them cannot orifice, as I say, because there's a lot of babies in it. Means like a duck's arse. Okay, people actually probably don't. When you say, I'm going for the oil, right? It's either for your heating or it's for your car. You buy it in a plastic container, you pour it out. Oil is a very complex substance when you get it out of the ground, though. It's got all sorts of molecules in, which range from methane there, all the way up to tars here. And it all depends how many of these hydrogen and carbons are actually wrapped together. These simple ones here, that's CH4 methane, that's C2H6 methane, so that's propane there. Right? That's gas. This is oil. These ones which fold around are called benzene ring, and then they come up to asphaltene, that's tar. Different oils, depending on the temperature these rocks are being cooked to, will produce all of these things. If it's not hot enough, it won't produce anything, it'll be off here. If it's the right temperature, it'll either be gas or oil, and it's too hot, it'll make it tar. Shale gas contains methane. It also contains ethane. Now, people are not aware that ethane is the prime constituent that petrochemical companies use for their cracking process to make ethylene chloride, which then makes PVC, polythene, polystyrene, all of these things. INEOS, who used to be ICI and now a proud company, as all of you know it, owned by Jim Ratcliffe, have just put a $250 million project to bring ethane from the US into Grangemouth. They'd much prefer to get that ethane. The ethane is as an important part of this as the methane. The methane you use to burn, the ethane you use to make things off. In the US, they pay a third for their methane that we do, and their ethane is virtually free. European petrochemical industries can never compete with that on the basis they are now. So it's actually those bits of it I'm mostly talking about today. All these others have got importance. We stick most of this on our roads with asphaltene. The geopolitical context. Where do we get gas? Okay, just before we do that, 70% of our heating and cooking is gas. Okay? When you go and switch on the gas, right, it's got to come from somewhere. We import about half our gas now because the North Sea is running out. So 70% also about 30 to 40% of our energy generation is gas, and that varies depending on the time of year. So where do we get it? Well, we get some of it from the North Sea. We import some of it from Norway. We get some of it, at least in theory, coming through the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, into Milford Haven as liquefied natural gas, and some of it comes from the continent. Now, where does the continent get it? It gets it mostly from Siberia, from two fields, the Stockman field and the Yamal field. Some of that comes through what's called Nord Stream, which is the northern pipeline. 5 of the pipelines come through the Ukraine. Okay? Now people say, well, the UK doesn't get any of its gas from Russia. We get our gas from continental Europe. Continental Europe gets its gas from Russia. There's no names on these molecules of gas. If they stop being pumped into continental Europe, we will stop getting it from continental Europe. So you can if you want to think that we don't get any gas from Russia, you can do, but in actual fact we do. And Senator are just busy negotiating for direct supply of Siberian gas. Now an interesting thing is, the pipelines from Siberia into the rest of Europe leak about 1.5%. So in some places in Russia it's much more. At 75 times as bad as CO2, the environmental footprint of bringing gas from Russia, the carbon footprint, is more in the transport than it is in the burning it at the other end. That's actually quite good. You shouldn't bring gas thousands of kilometres through pipelines which leak. Okay, so that's the political context. And it has not improved in this past week. Now, Russia has taken Crimea. The Crimea is an opportunistic act by Russia because it was there. The activity between Russia and Ukraine is about energy. Because Russia's 40% of Ukraine energy, 40% of Siberian gas is stored in Ukraine. The rest of it passes through to Turkey. Russia does not want Ukraine having its own source of gas. It does not want to align with the European Union. Crimea is an incidental thing. This is about energy. And lots of European countries have got shale, as I said. Not a really good slide. That's Ireland, actually, that's us. France, Paris Basin, Germany, Norway, a wee bit, the Baltic. That's the next basin in Ukraine. Huge quantities of shale gas. That is the Lublin Basin on the Polish-Ukrainian border, huge amounts of shale gas. Ukraine would like to exploit the shale, but she doesn't want to. In actual fact, I've given 70 lectures on this now. And I've had gas from in my lectures. So I haven't yet had Spetsnaz at my door in balaclavas with Kalashnikovs, but my wife is worried to do. Okay, so the UK. Now, DEC put out this map, which is an invitation to bid for licenses in this area. And this is quite misleading, because in most of these places, if you bid, there's not much chance of you actually having gas, but DEC is not quite as scrupulous as you might think. And the newspapers converted that into this map, which meant that hundreds of people all over kept phoning me saying, is there going to be shale gas in X, Y, or Z? And the answer is probably no. Because it's what I call the Goldilocks effect. This porridge is too cold, you don't get gas for oil. Okay? This porridge is too hot, you get tar. It has to be the right temperature. So it's a question of how deeply the rocks are buried. This is probably a much more realistic picture. Okay? Smallish amounts in the Midland Valley, quite a bit in God's own country of Northumberland, a lot in Yorkshire, Lancashire, Merseyside, into Nottingham and further south. Oil in the Weald, in actual fact. We're not short of oil. Oil is not an issue. But you will have seen this picture. The British Geological Survey, first of all, said there were 5 trillion cubic feet of gas. Now, to give you context, the UK uses 3 trillion cubic feet of gas a year. So 5 trillion didn't go very far. They were then sent away to look at it again and found that in actual fact it has a range, but probable estimate of what's called resource is 1,300 trillion cubic feet. There's a difference between resource and reserve. Resource is what is there, reserve is what you might get out. Now it's a little question as to how much you can get out, but typically it might be about 10%. If you get 10% out, that's between, let's say, 25 to 50 years of total UK gas consumption from the north of England. And that's why government and companies are interested in it. And it's not just here, it runs strongly all the way down into Cheshire. These are the areas that are of interest. And so, what do we have to do to get the shales to deliver this gas? We go fracking, which has become an icon for a devilish process, which we're interfering with spawn Satan as we've gone down in the years. But two things happen. One of which is we learn to drill around corners. Now, if you just drill straight down through a rock, you access only its thickness. If you can drill around a corner, you can access its length, and that can be 10, 20, 30, 40 kilometers. So horizontal drilling is called, drill down and you drill along. That still doesn't give you the gas, because it still doesn't want to give it up, so you have to produce a network of fractures. How do you do that? You pump water in at high pressure. But you've got to overcome the weight of the rock which sits above it, and that's about 10,000 feet, which equates to about 10,000 pounds per square inch. So in order to influence that rock, you've got to pump at higher pressures than the weight of this rock. So that's why you pump at about 10,000 pounds per square inch. And you then produce fractures. These fractures are about this wide. Okay, they're not this wide, a few millimeters wide, and they go a few hundred meters. But if you actually stop pumping and pump the water out, these fractures close again because you've got 10,000 pounds per square inch. In order to keep them open, you've got to get sand into them, because the sand produces a pathway. Now, how do we know where these are? Well, this is what I do. I'm on the micro-size recipe, from mining, from all sorts of things. Because when these fractures move, they produce tiny little earthquakes. Earthquakes of magnitude 0 and less. And you can actually map where the fractures go. This is a Canadian example from somebody who used to work for me. This is what you do first. You drill down, you drill along, you do a fracture here, there, here, here, here. You get a sequence of fractures. And how far do they go? Well, this is a map of all of the aquifers in that region. An aquifer is not a rock containing water. All rocks are definitely containing water. It's a rock containing water which you can drink. Okay? Water at 3,000 meters is salty. It's not an aquifer. An aquifer is the bit which is recharged from the surface, which is the first few hundred meters. So there's where the aquifers are. This is the height of the fractures. A colleague of mine at Durham has estimated that well, this is a map of all of the fractures in the US. Not one has gone more than 600 meters. Okay. You need to have a bit of gap. But if you're more than a kilometre below the aquifer, no fractures are not going to reach it. That's another interesting part. To give you some context, this is the Empire State Building. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Typically down at 7 Empire State Buildings. If you drilled here, okay, just the depth of the borehole would be somewhere near this and St. Anne's, and the actual end of the borehole, well, I don't know where it would be, to be perfectly honest. That's how deep we are. If you want to contaminate your aquifers, just go and spill diesel at the local garage. That will go into your aquifer. Washing your car, what do you do with the water when you wash your car? Do you collect it in special containers and take the license disposal tax? What do you do with the ethylene glycol you put in the icer that you spray around the environment all winter? Those are the things that get into the first few hundred meters which are in aquifer. It's actually very difficult to get things from 10,000 feet. But just took a bit of food for thought. Now, fracking become notorious in lots of pre-salt. The first fracking, for definite I know about, took place in 1964 in the Midland Valley of Scotland for gas. I measured the first fracking which took place in England in 1988 in previous years, which was Beacon in Lincolnshire. Anybody know about those? If you did, you're very well informed. But you didn't hear about earthquakes, you didn't hear about environmental catastrophe, did you? More than 200 fracks have taken place in the UK before. Okay, so fracking fluid, a commonly held view. We can tell you what's in it, but they're going to have to kill you. Right? And in the US, water, sand, chemicals, and a base of this. Right? What actually is in there, it's a different venue. I actually make fracking fluid from things I buy at Bunbury Cooperative. Right? From washing up liquid. Vinegar, citric acid, salt, and jelly babies. That's principally what's in this. Okay? Okay, various things there. In actual fact, in the States, the people who make fracking fluid don't want to tell you what's in it because they're making money out of selling it to you. In actual fact, in the EU, full disclosure is mandatory. And in actual fact, Cordrillo will use 3 chemicals. 2 of those are water and sand, and the third one is a friction reducer, which is the same material which actually goes into baby nappies. You will have seen, no doubt, gas lamps, or some of you will, where some dude in Pennsylvania sets fire to his gas from his tap. Silly bugger should do what all his neighbours do, which is to separate out the gas from his water in his garage or his basement before it turns on his tap. Because in actual fact, there have been records of gas in water in Pennsylvania since 1873. Because it passes, the water wells pass through coal seams and marsh gas. It is absolutely nothing to do with fracking. It is to do with the fact that those wells pass through methane containing. How much water do you use? Okay, well here's an interesting fact. The whole life of a well, fracked well, uses as much water as a golf course irrigates in 1 month. Right, rather live in St. Anne's level, don't you? And if you wanted to get all of your gas from shale gas, all of the UK gas, it would take probably about 1,000 plus wells. Do you know how many golf courses there are in the UK? I asked that question because I didn't know, of course. Anybody? Yes? 7,500. Okay? A golf course is a fairly big thing. Shale gas is about half a football pitch, much less than a golf course. So just a little bit of context before people start. And then in actual fact, even in Texas, the shale gas water uses is only 0.5%, right? 0.1% in Pennsylvania. And they buy that water, and they say, well, we buy water. It's going to get into the atmosphere, and it's worse than coal. No, it isn't. Gas, generally, is only half the carbon footprint of coal. Now, in actual fact, we get a lot of our energy from coal, but by the end of next year, we will close 6 coal-fired power stations. We've already closed 3 of them, which will take about 8 gigawatts out of about 60 gigawatts. So we're going to close about more than 10 to 50% of our coal generating capacity in the UK. Right? At the minute, we actually don't have any substitute for that. That's an interesting point, because we haven't had any energy policy worth a light for ages. This is 2 reports, one of which is by the government's own chief scientist, David Mackay, who was actually born on Keele campus, actually. His father was the founding professor of neuroscience at Keele. This other one is from Australia. The methane content, the carbon footprint of gas is 1/2 coal. If we're not very careful, what will happen is the third world will use coal for their primary energy. We have to bring CO2 down. We're 400 parts per million now. By the time I slough it in 20 years, so we will be 450 parts per million. And then that is at least 2 degrees of global warming. Which means we have only got 20 years to do something about this. And one of the things we have to do is prevent coal being burnt as the primary energy source. And the easiest thing where we can make a major difference is to substitute gas for coal. I work on renewables, so I work on wind and I work on geothermal. The quickest thing is to actually stop burning coal. Another thing is, it's not what happens at 10,000 feet which matters, it's what happens in the top of 100 meters. As I said, where you spill diesel, right? Surface spills don't get that fast. But that's exactly the same for any oil well. Once the gas is coming up a well, it doesn't know it's fracked, it doesn't know it's shale gas, all it knows is coming up a well. Conventional oil and gas and shale gas are identical once they're actually in the well. And you have to be very careful, because that is the bit which goes through your aquifers. You may not know this, but you might know this again. When you drill a well, you start off with a ring of steel 800 meters across. That's what the rig sits on. You then go down to about 500 millimeters, 800 millimeters, not meters, 500 millimeters. Then you go down to about, let's say 30, and then the central core, which is the drill itself, the conductor casing, is about 20. In the top 100 meters or so, you've actually got 4 concentric rings of steel, which are filled with concrete. Okay? That's what you need to look after. But in actual fact, protection down the bit of the aquifer is really very good. What you mustn't do is spill stuff on the surface. which is the same as any industrial process. As I say, dry cleaning fluid, petrol, tankers going on a motorway. That's what you must avoid. What happens? If it was easy fluids to get from 10,000 feet, there would be no gas there at all. What happens at 10,000 feet is not the thing we should be worried about. What we should be worried about are the processes which we can control and legislate for at the surface. Okay, you've all seen the Devil Hillbillies, have you? Well, you're all too young. And everybody sees oil drilling derricks as far as the eye can see. This is west of Keele, a place called Willowbridge. That's why you're drilling. We drilled in our campus for cool everything. Big rig, impressive stuff. That's afterwards. Right? It comes and goes. We drilled on Keele campus. Everybody said to me, well, when are we going to start drilling? Which I said we finished 6 weeks ago. That's how intrusive it was. You'll see pictures from the States, taken from the air, mind, showing lots and lots of wells. Now why? Because in the States you own the mineral rights beneath your feet. So unless you have a well, you don't make any money. So having a well, right, so all these people are making a bob or two out of having their wells. So they insist on having one. You don't own the mineral rights beneath you. Okay? It belongs to the Crown. Okay? So that's not how it works. You drill one well down, and then that at depth is like the roots of a tree. You get multiple wells. You might get 20 wells, but only one spot on the surface where you actually encounter the surface. So if everybody tells you you're going to have wells every kilometre, why would they want to do that? That's expensive. These people are willing to make money. Let's not kid ourselves. Which farm? Ever been out of Poole on the ferry to Cherbourg? Well, if you have, you probably won't have noticed which farm. But which farm is the largest onshore oil field in Europe? It accesses the oil out here from here, out to 10 kilometres, and it sits beneath Cove Castle. Okay? Sandbanks is the most expensive property in the UK, not out of London, including London. And that is the area to the east of which farm. So this is the whole area. This is Poole Harbour, this is Bournemouth, Wareham, all of these places. The oil is taken from here by horizontal drilling. This is a view over there. Right. That's indicating where they are. The hardly conspicuous features on the landscape. Okay, so back to what I'm actually an expert on. Just go on in with it. They're right to come to the Bowland Basin because it has huge quantities of shale gas. So they drill a borehole down to 9,000 feet and they do one frac. And everything goes pretty well. Okay? They then come up the well and they do another frac and they produce a magnitude 2.3 seismic event. In actual fact, there were lots of small events before that, which would have been an indicator that something was not full. And some of you may have felt that event. Did anybody feel 2.3 seismic events? Not as many, do you think? Within months of that, we had a 2.5 in Staffordshire from mining. And after 400,000 people in the potteries, only 3 people even bothered to report it. Okay. To be honest, Dick kept faith with them and let them go on, but they had a 1.5 seismic event, and then I was called, and in a conversation with Brother Dick and myself, said, well, you better stop and see what's going on. And it's quite clear, this is where the seismometers are, this is where the wellhead is, and that's where the seismic event was. In actual fact, it didn't take me more than about 30 minutes to say that this was actually right directly beneath your drilling. And this is the activity. You can see nothing first of all, then these seismic events at the time of the second frac, nothing at the third, and then more at the fourth and fifth. So quite categorically, without question, quadrillion falls in seismic events. In context, though, a few months ago, probably now, there was a 3.5 magnitude earthquake at only 2 kilometres in Rutland. Now, a 3.5 is about 50 times bigger than a 2.3 because it's a logarithmic scale. And this is at half the depth. There was no damage from the 3.5 earthquake at 2 kilometres. And there was no damage from the 2.3 earthquake in the Blackpool area in Australia. Okay? These are small earthquakes. And we know how big the earthquakes will be in this part of the geology, because I have monitored hundreds of thousands of mining events. The biggest we've had is about 3.1. Now why is that? Because the strength of the rock is not big enough to actually store energy. And no one's pretending that anybody wants to have earthquakes, but there's a bit of perspective. I've just been writing a 200-page report on seismic activity in northern Italy, where 12 billion euros of damage was caused. These were magnitude 5.9 earthquakes. When I tell them that we're excited about a 2.3 earthquake, what do you think they say to me? Okay, so I'm trying to give you some perspective on the size of seismicity. Now actually, we looked at this very carefully. This is all of the earthquakes in Texas. Almost always, they are less than magnitude 0.5. Now why is that? Because there's two ways that rock can actually fracture. The one you actually want in hydrofracking is when rock does that, but actually produces a kind of tear-shaped fracture, where you actually expand the rock. That's what all of these are. There is another way for rock to fracture, and that is where you have a pre-existing fault, where the rock does that. That first one is called a mode 1 failure. This one failure is called a mode 2 failure. And that's a movement on a fault. The Lancashire event was more than 2 orders of magnitude bigger than any of the Texas, because it influenced pre-existing fault. That's what's critical, to know where your faults are. So, what have we done? I wrote a report for Quebec, together with others. I seem to have actually got the job of going on talking about it. I've given 70 plus talks. This is my 72nd talk. And what you do is you monitor the seismicity continually. If it's less than 0, you will never feel it. If it rises to 0.5, you then go to an alert. Okay. You start thinking, are we moving from this to this? If that trajectory of this is not actually quite correct, if it gets to 1.5, you stop immediately. Okay? So that's, so 0, you carry on. At 0.5, you reduce your pumping, okay, and wait to see what happens. Less than 1.5, you stop immediately. Okay, abandon that. So those are that's the regulations that are based on what I report. Okay, there'll be 2 major reports, one of which linked quite a bit with what I wrote in my report, this Royal Society, not immune from plagiarising, but shale gas extraction in the UK. The health, safety and environment risk can be managed effectively, that's their opinion. Fracture propagation is unlikely to cause contamination, and well integrity is the highest priority, which is it. The Australians have done much the same. This is their report, if you want to read it. But I tell my students, and I tell everybody else, that there's a triangle for shale gas. First one, is it technically possible? Yes, it's technically possible. Done it 200 times in the UK, probably smaller than the other one. They've done it hundreds of thousands in the US. So they actually have cheap gas and cheap feedstock. Second question, is it economically deliverable? You just say, this is not a charity. If they can't do it at a profit, they won't do it. Okay? So if you like, it's not my question to answer. If you can't make money out of it, you won't do it. And the third one, which is probably the one which is this one, will anybody let you? Okay? And by that anybody, I mean government, legislators, business people, population. Now, if you like, that's the most complicated. But this is not a unique triangle. It's exactly the same for radiocarbon waste disposal, for sequestration of CO2. The same questions are asked. So, without those, if we can actually make that triangle work, how long and for how long? Well, in actual fact, while we have all of these estimates of how much shale gas, until we drill some more boreholes, nobody will actually know. Right? Because shale gas actually requires you to actually look at those rocks, bring them up, show them to people like me, they contain gas, they contain oil. And another thing is, not all rocks are frackable. If they're too soft, they won't fracture. You actually have to have, it's not pure clay. It has to have some more rigid bits like sand and limestone in order to actually be able to fracture at all. So there's many imponderables. The US only started this really in about 2006, 2007, right? And are now already self-sufficient in gas. The US pays $3 per million British sterling units to cradle cases of these British sterling units, right? We pay $8. Before 2005, we paid exactly the same amount. In Japan, they are prepared to pay $18 for that same quantity. Now, who do you think Qatar wants to sell it to? So, how long for? Any oil well, it's like being born. Bob Dylan said, the minute you're being born, you're busy dying, and it's the same with oil wells. As soon as you start decaying. It'll probably about 20 years, okay, and then you have to put it right. Now, I took this off the web. Okay, you probably have seen this kind of thing before. This is pagans against fracking. Okay, this is Lardon and Guinevere. I call them the Knights of the Round Picnic Table. They're actually at Barton Moss. The ironic thing is that Barton Moss sent out a tweet saying, "We've run out of gas, can you please bring some?" That kind of slightly sums this up a little bit. Do you want those to be the people who decide on your energy policy? I guess I've just released a report for Liverpool and the potential there, where they estimated that 65,000 supply chain jobs could be produced in the Merseyside, North Cheshire, Manchester region from shale gas there. Right? Now Blackpool has to think, well, these people are not going to all be riggers, they're not all going to be oil drillers, but these people need to stay somewhere, these people need to eat, these people need to go out and have a beer. Aberdeen had nothing. You try and find a hotel room in Aberdeen now because of no sea. These are people only flying in from rigs. Okay? Your business people, I don't need to tell you that you would probably welcome a lot of industrial activity if this process can be controlled. And it appears that the only energy source you want to live next to is a roaring log fire on a cold winter's night. But I have to warn you, the geopolitical situation, the energy situation in the UK, probably will mean if you're not careful, you better all buy access to burn and drop on trees. I'll stop there.
I'm sure you'd all like to join in thanking Peter for a fascinating insight into shale gas, and hopefully it's allayed some of the fears that some of you may have had previously. Thank you.